Welcome to our Netz 98 webinar. Today, we are proud to present a special cooperation with Hyvä because we are Hyvä Gold Partner. And not only this, Netz 98 is also one of the leading e-commerce agencies in Germany and the German-speaking region. We are the largest Magento and Adobe Commerce Gold Partner in this region. And we realize pioneering B2B and B2C online shops, e-commerce platforms, and digitalization projects for well-known companies. For example, for Mai. We will talk about that later on. My name is Gregor. I'm from the marketing team of Netz 98, and I like to welcome, first of all, our special guest today, Sanne Bolkenstein. She is Commercial Director from Hyvä. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we are happy to have you with us. And we also can introduce Felix and Hanna. Hanna is product owner and Felix is senior front-end developer in our team. And they will tell you something about the customer project with Mai later on. But first of all, Sanne will start with some general information about Hyvä. And a very important point for the audience, if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the Zoom chat. And after the webinar, we will go into it. And now, Sanne, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So welcome everybody today, and thank you for attending this webinar. So as Gregor explained, I will tell a little bit about what Hyvä is. So essentially, Hyvä is a built from scratch Magento 2 front-end solution that is really focusing on performance. Magento 2 comes with a standard front-end that's called Luma, but that has a lot of issues attached to it, amongst others that it ships a lot of code, which makes it difficult to get it performant. And also the developer experience isn't great. So when our founder, Willem Wigman, who has been a Magento developer for a long time, started working with Magento 2, quickly realized that the front end wasn't actually delivering what he expected. And so he started searching for alternatives. And nowadays, there's lots of alternatives in the market like PWA or headless solutions, but they actually require a completely set of skills and don't necessarily solve the issue for performance. So actually, he realized that what he needed was a native Magento frontend that just works. And since it wasn't there, he decided to build one himself, and that became Hyvä. So Hyvä is great because it has very good performance. It saves you a lot of development time, and it actually has the fastest ROI in the market, which is good for sales because you get more traffic for the same advertising budget, and that traffic converts better without spending extra on marketing technologies. For your developers, it's great because Hyvä is quick to learn, fun, and rewarding. So it's fun for developers to work with, and you massively reduce development time as compared to Luma. And then for finance, it's good because we have quite transparent and easy pricing. So the Hyvä license is only €1,000 one-off. And of course, with the incremental sales and lower maintenance costs, you reap long-term benefits. So this is a little bit about Hyvä. We haven't been around very long. We have actually just celebrated our third birthday, and our first shop went live in 2021. But since then, we've seen massive growth. And what's really exciting is to see that also larger brands are adopting us, like Mai. So Hanna, I was wondering if you could maybe introduce Mai as a customer to us and tell a little bit about how your journey with Mai started.
Sure. Yeah, so for all the people who don't know Mai, they are distribution of underwear and loungewear since 1928, so they've been around for a while. They do have over 3,000 offline stores in Europe. Most of them are in Germany, but they also sell their products in other countries. And they started with the first web shop in 2009, so also quite some experience already with online shops. So they're in cooperation with us, Net98, since 2019, so also 5 years now. And we currently use all the 3 Hyvä products or licenses. So we have the Hyvä frontend theme that went live, I think, May last year.
Last year.
Yeah. And the Hyvä Enterprise and Hyvä Checkout since this year. So the Hyvä Checkout, I think, went live just a few weeks ago. So it's very fresh. But yeah, like Sanne said, with my reviews, all that Hyvä can offer. And yeah, so ever since we've been working with Mai, and I think even before that, a huge goal of them, or yeah, huge requirement that they have is to have a very high performing shop. And of course, a big part of that is have fast page speed and fast loading times. And maybe Sanne, you can give us a quick introduction on performance, like what is it about and what makes good performance?
Yeah, sure. So performance can actually be described as the speed of a website, so the time it takes to load a website and then for a visitor to see it and interact with it. And this is very important in e-commerce because it's actually one of the most important factors in a web shop's conversion rate. If you have better performance, that means you will rank better in Google, so you get more organic traffic to your site. But those visitors, so that increased amount of visitors, also have a better user experience, resulting in more conversion rates, so visitors converting into buyers, and also the basket size of that customer is bigger because of increased performance. So you see that once you invest in performance, you actually see a multiplying effect because of all these factors. And that has a positive effect on revenue and profit. So why Hyvä was needed is because the Magento itself, the Luma front end, actually has a lot of JavaScript, and JavaScript is notoriously bad for performance. This is because of the nature of how JavaScript works. I like to compare it to an athlete, for instance. If you want to be a fast runner, you need to have lightweight, so you don't ship too much weight, and you have to have a good running technique. And both actually work against JavaScript. It is known because it has a lot of data, so you need it's very heavy to ship. And then also the nature of JavaScript is that you need to load every file separately, which makes that it takes a long time to load. And so you find a lot of JavaScript in Magento's Luma, for instance, Knockout.js, which is actually already deprecated, BigQuery and jQuery. And Hyvä only has one JavaScript file, that's Alpine.js, and that's actually a very modern JavaScript techniques that is much better suited for performance. And then the remaining code that is required to build a Magento store is also greatly reduced. So if you look at the standard Luma theme, it has actually more than 200 dependencies, while Hyvä only has 2. So that's Alpine and then Tailwind. And so that makes it extremely lightweight and thus performant, especially if you compare it also to other modern techniques like single-page applications or PWAs. They typically ship a lot of JavaScript as well, making it, again, difficult to get it performant. So as Hanna mentioned, we actually have a wide variety of products nowadays. So we started out as a Magento front-end theme, but ever since we've also developed a set of additional products. So again, like the theme is meant reduction of complexity, keeping its resources less code, making it more performant and easier for developers to work with. In addition to the theme, we've developed Hyvä UI, which is a library of predefined components that work out of the box with Hyvä, making it even easier to build Hyvä shops. And then the next big thing that we wanted to take on was like the next hurdle for conversion for Magento users is actually the checkout. And so we kind of did the same as what we did with the theme. We completely rebuilt it from the ground up using a lot less code and making it easier and more fun for developers to work with, so that you can have, for instance, different payment experiences for different types of users. You can do A/B testing. And we've invested heavily in a relationship with the payment partners, and that's resulted in that we now support actually most popular payment methods in our checkout. And then our latest baby, I should say, is Hyvä Enterprise. That was only released late last year, and that covers compatibility with the entire Adobe Commerce suite, so Adobe Commerce, B2B, and Sensei. And in addition to that, we've actually done a lot of optimizations for Adobe Commerce clients. So for instance, like again, reduction in the code, reduction in the duplicated HTML files, simplify the UX, making it easier to work with and more performant. And so we're very lucky to have partners like Netza Noisy and our clients Mai, who's actually one of the first to go live with all three of these products. So we're very excited to see what the results of that are. And speaking of that, I would like to ask you, Hanna, to dive a little bit deeper into what the requirements for Mai were and why they chose to get started with all these products.
Yes, so so Mai has a very high quality standard, not only for the product, so they do produce in Germany with finest materials, so the product itself is very high quality and they look at every detail. And this is also something that or a requirement they have for the web shop, to have the products be presented in the best way possible, not only in their offline stores, but also then in the web shop online. They also want to provide a good brand experience, for example, with very much like a lot of content, and this also entails usually high quality pictures that are very like large in size, so you're able to zoom in and really experience the products and the fine details. So this is one of many performance killers that you can have. So if you use really big pictures, you have to try and somehow not let it affect the performance too much. And also, just a perfect customer journey with fast page speed, clear structures, user guidance through the shop, and a lot of features like product sliders, flyouts, promotion banners. So they do a lot to speak to the customers. So we've started with these requirements in 2019, and I don't think they had a lot of different ones before that. So this has always been a basis for Mai in general, and this leads to a lot of challenges. Like I said, we have big pictures, high resolution, a lot of content elements. So this is something that's very difficult to have a high performance with. And Felix, you can talk about the improvements that we did with Luma to the maximum.
Yes, sure. As Hanna mentioned, we have quite challenging requirements in the Mai project. So we implemented a lot of optimizations for the shop. The first one was JavaScript bundling and minification. We chose the solution of Willem Wigman, who is the founder of Hyvä, I guess. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong.
He is.
We did that because the default Magento solution does not work pretty well. In fact, it made the performance even worse. So with this solution, we combined all the JavaScript files, and we have a lot of JavaScript files in Luma, as you mentioned. in one file. And you have bundles for all specific views in the shop, for the product detail page, for example, or for the cart. And what we did on top, we minified all those files with Cursor to make them smaller. The second important part are the images. Well, we have really big images in the shop. In the past, they were even bigger. So we implemented a complete new image logic. So the images are not handled by Magento, talking about the product images. And we did that because I want full control over the product images. So they all generate all the images in all formats, in all sizes, and we implement them in the shop. So the advantage is the images must not be generated on runtime. Yes, that's the way most of the CDN services handle it. Another approach we did in Luma, you don't have responsive images. So you have one image which is delivered for all devices. And we implemented responsive images, so you get a perfect optimized image for mobile and so on. What we also did, we used WebP as image format, which it's much smaller than the standard JPEG images. And what we did on top for the images, we lazy load the images below the fold. So the next topic, also a big pain point in the past with Luma is CSS. Because Luma with all its CSS is so big, I think it's in the standard 20,000 lines of CSS, pretty much, I think. So we generated critical CSS for individual pages. So the CSS which is needed for the initial view is served first. What we also did is to prevent CLS, known as cumulative layout shift, also a big problem with Luma. And we prevent rendering of page elements below the fold with CSS. Yes, and as a last thing, we preload critical files like CSS, JS, and web fonts in front. So we tell the browser to load those resources as soon as possible.
I think you can already imagine how much work and how much time went into everything that Felix just explained. And with only very little improvements regarding performance. So this has been hours and hours and hours that we put into the shop for very little improvement regarding the performance. So basically we were at a point where we reached the maximum that Luma can do. And that's why we needed a new technology and new ways of improving the performance. And that's basically the point where Hyvä came to play. And we'll give you an overview of how we approached the whole implementation and what steps we went through.
Yes, as it was not a complete new project, but a relaunch. So we took our complete file system. We built it over the time I think we have over 100 custom modules installed and created for this shop. And we divided the shop into logical areas like the product detail page, the customer section, and so on. And analyzed all the features. And then also we had to check the third-party extensions we use in the shop. One big question was, are they compatible with Hyvä? Is there a module from Hyvä, or do we have to build our own module? Yeah, and what we also did, we considered accessibility during the relaunch, as it will be a must for every B2C shop from 2025, I guess. In June next year, this will be a must for every shop. So we took that also in account. Yeah. The implementation was, well, first we bought the license from Hyvä. We installed the theme and configured it based on our needs. And also the compatibility modules for third-party extensions. And one cool feature we also needed is the Hyvä fallback module, as we needed that for the checkout, because the Hyvä theme is for the shop, but not for the checkout. So we had to still use the old Luma checkout. After that, we applied the design to Hyvä, to the Hyvä theme, and refactored all our modules. The templates, the CSS has to be converted from less to the utility first framework Tailwind, which is used by Hyvä. The JavaScript we had to transform from jQuery and Knockout.js to Alpine.js. What we did, as we noticed with every feature we added during refactoring, the performance went slightly down. So during development, we constantly measured the performance to always have this in mind. So what we also did on top, I mean, Hyvä is very fast by default, but if you add a lot of features like we did, you have to watch about the performance, as most of the features carry JavaScript with them. So we moved all JavaScript to the bottom of the page to prevent blocking rendering of the page. We also minified all the templates, which contains the HTML and the JavaScript. And again, we used the CSS property content visibility to prevent rendering of content elements below the fold. Well, we did that last year. The relaunch was in March or April, May, I guess, May. So it went pretty well. We had a large improvement in performance, but we still had the old Luma checkout. It wasn't a problem, but now
Felt like you would run into a wall. You go through a fast shop and then you want to go buy the products and go into the checkout and you're like, what? tests because everything really slowed down, and then that was the perfect time when Hyvä. I'm not sure. I think the development was already taking place, and you just announced it or something. So it was the perfect timing where we were like, "Oh, hey, should be the next thing to step up the performance." Yes.
Yes, and I think it was last summer we noticed, okay, Hyvä has a solution for that for our old Luma checkout. So it was brand new. We knew nothing about it, so we started with a pragmatic approach. We bought a license, installed it, and did some analysis for it. And our biggest question was, what about our PSP, payment service provider? Is it supported? Because building a module for payment service provider from scratch is a relative complex task. So, but as my user's add-in, there was a module for that. We went to Mai and say, hey, there is a solution from Hyvä to make your checkout even better and as performant as the rest of the shop. So we started the implementation in November, end of November. And well, we also applied the My design for checkout. It went pretty well, as it's the same core concepts like in Magento. So you have your layout XML, your templates, and on top, sure, we installed and extended the modules, rewrote our custom modules. So we have packing station support for shipping addresses, where the customer can choose a packing station as a delivery address. And yeah, we also integrated new features. That was, I think, the reason why it took us a little bit longer than expected. We integrated Locate, which is a address completion service, and also a very fancy extended form validation. Well, for performance, we did not that much. The only thing we did, we moved all the JS to bottom again. Well, so a lot of talk, technical talk. Here's the numbers. To monitor the performance, we use Google Lighthouse for measurement. As most users visit the shop with mobile devices, and we have a mobile-first approach in the project, we only take mobile score into account. So mobile score is a lot more difficult than the desktop score. It's difficult to get your score above 90% or 90 points. That's the border where the value gets green, from yellow to green. Explaining the metrics, the Lighthouse score consists of multiple metrics regarding the page performance. We also listed the speed index as a key metric, which is also a part of the Lighthouse score. The speed index measures how quickly content is visually displayed during page load. Yes. if you install a blank Hyvä, it's very fast. I think the values are green. No problem here. One of the biggest challenges, and this is an ongoing task, is if you start using Google Tag Manager. So I think maybe every project has this tool implemented for several marketing scripts, Google Analytics or other tracking tools. In our case, at this adds 66 external scripts on top. So I measured for the checkout a total size of 1.7 megabyte, and all the Google Tag Manager scripts are 1.2 megabyte. So that's the majority.
Yeah.
So our scores were measured without third-party scripts. So we disabled all the Google Tag Manager stuff. We did that because we do not have any influence on the loaded external scripts included. So that's controlled by another agency. And what we want is a reliable numbers regarding the shop and our developed features. So let's look at one example, the PDP, the shiny PDP. So we started with 29 points with Luma and a speed index of 13.4 seconds. And now, after all that optimizations and the switch to Hyvä, we have 81 points and a speed index of 3 seconds. That's a really big improvement. And okay, numbers are numbers, but try it out yourself. It's a B2C shop. Visit my.com. It is really fast and it feels really fast. So right now, we don't have to invest so much for better performance as we use Hyvä. And well, we're happy as our customer is. So it was a good decision, I think.
Okay, thank you, Felix. And then we're coming to the end, a little summary to just touch on some, let's say, advantages or just some topics. So I think as we heard before, we improved the user experience, we improved our Lighthouse score also. To mention, Lighthouse score isn't everything. So it's also very subjective to where you're testing the score, what your computer is, like how good your computer is, how fast it is. So it's very, you should use the Lighthouse score very carefully, I think. But still, the tendencies show it's faster and better. So that's all that counts for now. And I think also to mention is that with Hyvä, you have a lot of out-of-the-box accessibility improvements. So like Felix said, from next year on, it's going to be a big topic. And Hyvä already helps a lot with that and already looks a lot for accessibility. So it's also less time you have to spend as a front-end developer to fix all the things that might lead to a bad accessibility score.
Yeah, and then as I touched upon as well, so in the Hyvä enterprise module, so not only did we ensure compatibility with the Adobe Commerce Suite, but we also improved a lot of things on the way. So it's kind of similar to what we did with the theme, like looking at the existing code, reducing it where possible, applying more modern technique, more logical techniques. So it's easier for developers to work with. This leads to a less complex development process, means that you actually have more time on your hands to do stuff that you want to do with the shop itself, and not only just invest in the technological development. And then one thing that we think is very important, that we have a future-proof technology. So with every additional product that we develop, but also with new updates of the existing products that we have, we always take performance into account. And for instance, like there's been a new Google Core Web Vitals released this month. It's the Interaction to Next Paint. So when something like that happens, we immediately check what is the impact for all of our users and what can we do to help them pass Core Web Vitals. And so that's ingrained in everything that we do. I think that ensures that not only can we help you, have a good performance shop now, but also in the future.
All right, then thanks for everyone's attention.
Okay, so now the question is if the audience has some questions, but but I don't think so. I'm looking to my assistant, but I think there are no questions right now.
Oh, one question. Wait, let me see if I can open it.
Yeah, one question.
Question for the Hyvä team. Are there any plans in the roadmap to integrate PWA features into the Hyvä core theme, allowing somehow for offline serving and yet more improved performance?
No, we don't have any plans for that. So we see that, as I said, PWA has a lot of JavaScript, which is, like you said, notoriously bad for performance. And so we really don't want to get that and have that influence our front-end theme. Regarding the offline serving, I think it's more important that you have a lightweight framework that can actually work also really well on less performant devices. So as Hanna said, it is also depending like what type of computer do you use? Do you have 5G internet or do you have a lesser version of that? There are parts of the world where the internet connection isn't as good as in others. And so I would say if you invest in a shop that is performant also on less modern devices, you will have more benefit from that than using a PWA.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question right now. What was the budget and time frame for the migration from Luma to Hyvä at May?
So if I remember correctly, I think we talked about around 90 person days. And the time frame was it 4 months, I think? Roundabout. I think we took longer because we had a lot of changes during the process and a lot of adjustments that we did. So it wasn't just a strict front-end relaunch with everything that was there before. We got rid of some stuff, we put some stuff in. So it was, we took a little longer than the original time frame was set, but yeah, that's roundabout. I think we tried for 4 months and I think it took 5 or 6 at the end.
Okay, and this was the second and also the last question. So, but if you have any questions more, you can write to our 3 experts after the webinar. Here you can see the email addresses. And thanks to our 3 experts today. I think we now have a better picture of how Hyvä works and what benefits it brings. And a special thanks to Sanne for your guest appearance today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thanks also to Hanna and Felix and to the audience for your interest, and have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.